what I love about delegation is it's like a guilty pleasure. Like there are things in your life that you just don't like doing. You're not wired for them. They're not your skill. They're not your strength. And when you find someone else that is their unique ability, it's like a guilty pleasure. You feel like, oh my gosh, I hated doing this. And this person loves it.
You're asking yourself, why am I doing this?
Smart people would know how to use all these different tools.
You start with something small.
You'll never get your entire organization if you don't pull off operations. Don't give up.
It can be as small as that.
I think you guys are going to have our last today.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Delegate That podcast, where we discuss the art and science of delegation, business, management, and leadership. Today, I am stoked to have a good conversation with my good friend, Ben Kelley. We've known each other both professionally and personally for a little while, and I look forward to kind of digging into to your work as an EOS implementer. I'm really looking forward to chatting a little bit about that, as delegation and business and management and leadership. All of the things that we talk about here are right up your alley and what you do. So Ben, if you can, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about what you've got going on in your life.
Ben Kelley, I'm an EOS implementer. Do you want a quick background?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And grew up in Dayton, Ohio, graduated the University of Cincinnati, moved to Los Angeles, California with a degree in product design. And as you know, I was a professional stunt rollerblader. Mm-hmm. Those two things got me a job at a $4 million startup designing kids' skate shoes, where I actually held the patents. That was amazing. We started at $4 million. They sold that company for $40 million in about 4 years. It was a wild ride, lots of great things. Spent the next decade in outside sales, selling things for large corporations. And what I learned there was how important it was to be on a team with diverse strengths. And I probably got a little bit too much taste of corporate politics because I always thought I could run a better business on my own. So I started an outsourcing business with my wife and started a real estate investment company with two other partners. Someone handed us traction. That's where I learned about EOS. We started running that business on EOS. It was a game changer for us. Our accountability, our communication drastically improved. We flipped $52 million in multifamily real estate in 2.5 years. It worked so well in that business. I was like, oh, we got to do this in the business with my wife. My wife doesn't love it when I tell her how to do everything. And so for the sake of our marriage, we hired an outside EOS implementer who came in and helped us run EOS. Third-party facilitation was a game changer. We got my wife out of our 24/7 project manager seat. Our revenue and profits doubled, and we grew from 11 to 28 people. Our business got more healthy, but really, truly, our marriage got more healthy and I got more healthy. Eventually, we decided the right seat for me was not in the family business. It was being an EOS implementer, and that's how I got here.
Do you feel overwhelmed with mundane tasks that eat up your valuable time? It's time to reclaim your schedule and focus on what truly matters. Get your time back with elite remote talent without a time zone hassle. Delegate $10 an hour tasks to focus on more $1,000 an hour tasks. Schedule your free strategy call at wisevas.io.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a phenomenal background. And it was fun when we went through. For those of you who want to know a little bit more on some of the background with Ben, you could go listen to the Biz Dad podcast where I interviewed him. There was a lot of fun conversation over there. So, you and I worked together. You were an implementer in one of my companies, and it was great for me to kind of understand. We had read the book before we hired you to come in, and we were trying to figure it all out on our own and trying to look at all of this. But man, oh man, there's just so much involved with doing the implementation that bringing somebody like you in really helped us kind of clarify what we were looking at, how things were going. So as you were kind of implementing EOS into your company, how did you kind of work through the struggles of understanding how to actually implement this, how to work through things? I mean, obviously reading a book and then going ahead and jumping in, those are two very different things, reading and then applying. So how did you kind of work it on your own before you became an implementer?
It was really interesting to do the self-implementation on our own. And we went to the conferences, we read all the books. I mean, we were maniacal. We were just like so studious. And then we hired an implementer who came in, and it was really interesting because I don't think I realized what EOS is. We think EOS is a set of tools, right? The 5 foundational tools: VTO, accountability chart, rocks, meeting pulse, scorecard. But when you really start running EOS, it's really about the facilitation. It's growing the leadership team so that they understand what they're measuring, like on-the-job leadership training. It's the facilitation between people, getting them to a healthy way to identify, discuss, and solve problems. God knows that's what did miracles in my marriage. But it's really, especially with AI right now, everyone's like, oh yeah, I just ask AI. Everything that EOS has always been given away for free, but it's really about growing and leading as leaders.
So I think when it comes to EOS, and you just said that you brought in an implementer, and this is one of those things where in and of itself, that's delegating the implementation side of the house, because you need to have the right person sitting in the right seat. And I think especially as an implementer, that is the right person for the seat. The visionary and integrator are not the right people to implement EOS necessarily. So, figuring out those people to sit in those seats, like that is all delegation and leadership, and figuring out who belongs in what, so let's walk through just like EOS implementation as a whole. I think would be a great way to kind of really understand structuring a company, how even the accountability chart is showing how that delegation is getting applied inside of your business. Because delegation is not passing the buck. It's not any of that. It's being able to have the right people doing the right things inside of your company. So just kind of roll with that as you see fit.
So where I'd love to start with this is I love Dan Sullivan's definition of unique ability, is that you are trying to get to your place in your job, in your company, in your life, where you are in doing things that you love and you're great at. And everything else, you're getting off your plate. So starting with hiring an implementer, there are things that you, as a visionary and integrator, that you just haven't done in the same fashion, where a coach can come in and say, this is how we do it. Here's the rails, right? So your speed of learning the process by delegating that to someone who has done it 60, 70 times in 70 different companies, it's fantastic. And what I love about delegation is it's like a guilty pleasure. Like, there are things in your life that you just don't like doing. You're not wired for them. They're not your skill. They're not your strength. And when you find someone else that is their unique ability, it's like a guilty pleasure. You feel like, oh my gosh, I hated doing this, and this person loves it. So yes, finding someone to do what they do, their unique ability, where it's not yours, that diversity in the team is great. And then you mentioned the accountability chart, which is the first tool in the EOS toolbox. And this is the first time that a lot of people have like org charts, but they're really starting to think about what is the clarity in what our people do, and what is the right structure for us to grow our business to the next level. No personalities, no family members, no cousins. Like, I don't care what they're good at or how long they've been here. What is the right structure that we can build to deliver to our client customer? That simplicity in that tool, it brings simplicity and clarity to the entire company. People have worked at companies for decades, and they're like, well, sometimes they do that and sometimes I do that. Who's accountable for it? So that is the first, tool of clarifying who's doing what on the teams. And I think it's just super powerful to kind of grow into that.
Because of the way that a lot of startups happen, the way that a lot of businesses happen, everybody's doing, the people who are creating the company do everything, right? But you have to get yourself to a point where the right people are doing the things, right? And it's not just we do everything. It's no, the right person is doing those things that they need to be doing. So as you're walking somebody through all of that, how do you guys figure out who the right person is to do these jobs, so that it's not, because I would love to say that no matter what in a business, I'm only doing the things that I love and that that I'm good at. But yeah, that's not always realistic especially when we're starting a company. It's a little bit smaller. We may not have the funds to be able to build these things. We may not be able to do all these things. So, how do you kind of view setting the company up in a way that allows you to focus on the things that you're good at and hire the right people to do the things that they're good at?
You're all doing everything, right? So as you look at a smaller company, let's say there's 12 people in this company. Is that about the right size you want to talk about, or you want to talk about smaller?
Yeah, 12 sounds about good.
So you got 12 people in the company. Everybody's doing everything. So you build your accountability chart. First of all, the accountability chart, the structure is not how it is done today. It's always some point in the future, right? So you're asking, what's the right structure? So you're like, I think we need, first is how many major functions do we have? Do we have a sales and marketing department? Is there a sales department and a marketing department? What makes sense for us in the next level to get to? Usually 6 to 12 months out. A lot of companies are picking 6, growing fast. So you build the functions, and then you build the roles, 5 roles. Okay, if we had a sales department, here's what they'd be in charge of. Outreach, follow-up, client onboarding, right? You build these 5 roles below their seat. It's just wet cement. You're just taking a first stab at it. But then you've got the right structure, you've got the roles, and then you're filling the seats. Oh, this is where it gets good. Because you look at the room and you say, okay, this is our team. We have the leadership team in the room. We have a company of 12 people. So we got 4 people in the room, let's say. Who is the right person to sit in this seat? And everybody looks at each other, and they know that usually Mike's done it. But is Mike raising their hand? Is Mike like, that's me, right? And for the first time, probably in the company's history, people are deciding who is the right person, the best person to do this. And so, as you know, we use, do they get it? Do they want it? And do they have the capacity to do this seat in the 5 roles? And you just talk through this conversation, right? Because someone sticks up their hand or someone goes, hey, Mike's the right guy for the sales seat. Okay, great. And then for the first time, probably in their lives, the leadership team gives them real-time feedback on whether they think they get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it. Because sometimes Mike has done the sales because nobody else was even close to doing it. He doesn't even like it. He's an ops guy.
Yeah.
So then you start talking about you fill the seats and who's the right person for it now. If it's a major function, you need someone to sit in it. But there's 2 questions we ask in the accountability chart, which is, what is the transition plan and what is the hiring plan to get you to that next level, the one that you just put on the wall? And then that's where Mike gets to go, okay, I don't want to do this job. I never have. But for the team, I'm going to do this job for the next 6 months. Because when we hit Y point in revenue and we have so many new customers onboarding, we will have the cash flow to actually hire this. Or does it mean that it's going to be a new person? We could be delegating this to an outside vendor, right? You could be outsourcing, you could be automating it. It could be a third-party service. There could be a lot of different things, but at some point in time, Mike gets out of that seat.
Yeah, and I think that figuring, planning that forward and ahead to be able to know who's going to be sitting in those seats, to be able to look at this and say, look, we know that this is a temporary thing, but the job still needs to get done. So let's build this out with the goal in mind of saying, hey, there's Dave Aheimer. I interviewed him a couple episodes ago. He had talked about finding a way to create enough revenue to hire the next person for 1 week. If I have enough revenue coming in so that I can hire that person for a week, and then they come in, and now their job is to continue that to be able to build this out. Now, you're bringing this at a different layer to say, hey, like we're building this out potentially for 6 months, because it may take me 6 months to be able to create the revenue to bring that person in for 1 week, right? Because sometimes that's what it takes. But knowing that, hey, this is our end goal, this is where we're going, future forward, like looking at where we're planning to go, so that you can have the right people sitting in the right seats, delegating to the right folks. I think it creates such clarity when you're sitting there and you go, wow, I never would have thought, looking at my account, like an accountability chart, not an organizational chart, but true accountability, because this is the person that's accountable for this seat, for these jobs, for those things, really makes a whole lot of sense. And then you can kind of layer in, the other jobs from there and say, okay, now who sits where, what sits where. And I also love that you added on this, even later on, you may realize that gets delegated to a third party or gets, sent out to, a contractor somewhere or whatever. What have been some of the things that you've seen that have caused a lot of hiccups in companies as they're trying to go through all of this, and they, maybe they're having a hard time letting go? How do you kind of guide folks into like letting go of some of the things that aren't what they should be doing? Like really kind of trying to break through those barriers of, no, like I have got such a hard grasp on this company because this is my baby. And how do you kind of break down some of those barriers? Because people don't want to let go of things sometimes, even though they should.
Letting go is a really hard, challenging thing. It's emotional. When you build scaffolding, the tools around a leader to let go so that they know when they let go of something that there's someone there to catch it, right? That's a great moment. It is an emotional growth and coaching them through that process. I will also say that I think one of the other big hiccups or obstacles is that people will build their accountability chart and just be like, okay, we're going to go hire 3 new people, right? They don't have the revenue to hire 3 new people. And I have seen teams go in the negative, burn through valuable profit, trying to get people in place too soon. So while you're building the structure, the understanding around your finances, what's our top line revenue? How much is our cost of services or COGS, cost of goods, cost of services, right? Understanding our gross profit. Then what's our operating expenses? All the money that we need to spend to open the doors. And then what is our net income? And how much of this net income are we going to give to a new person? When? I love tracking revenue per full-time equivalent. I think that number, it's different for every business, starts to give you an idea of when you're ready to hire someone new. I think that's one of the key indicators. Okay, if you're in a cleaning business and you're at $60,000 per FTE, and you're taking all the hours, like if someone's 20 hours and you have 3 people that are 20 hours, you put those together, right? So that you're getting a 40-hour work week. So that's 1.5 employees divided by revenue. Okay, so that number starts to give you an indicator of when you're ready. So don't hire too soon. And don't hire because you think, oh my gosh, we're going to the moon. FTE and when to hire. We started with letting go of the vine. Mm-hmm. So can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
You've probably heard this. This is in the Traction book. But entrepreneur's walking along a cliff. He stumbles and he falls down the cliff. Can't say that word today. Grabs a vine halfway in the middle, 500 feet down to the craggy rocks is death. Can't make it back up. He's all beatered and just beaten up, battered. And he looks up to the heavens in a rare moment of faith. And he says, is anyone up there? And a voice booms back down. Do you believe? I mean, what's he going to say? Yeah. And the voice says, then let go of the vine. Anyone else up there?
Yeah.
I mean, it is super hard to let go of things, but building extensions of yourself and delegating or giving responsibility away slowly is the only way that you can really grow an organization. So I think the tools that we have to do that inside EOS are very helpful. There's probably, off the top of my head, Delegate and Elevate is a tool. LMA, Leadership plus Management equals Accountability. The 5 checklists of what it is to be a leader, to be a manager, because when you do those 5 things in each of those categories, you get accountability. The way you structure your department, the accountability chart, doing quarterly conversations with each one of your people, whether they're actually inside your company, your team, or vendors. You could be managing vendors. So there's a bunch of tools that we have to do that. In a way, all of the tools in EOS link up to all the other tools and support each other. So you're kind of like, oh, well, a full EOS implementation. Yeah, that will get you there. And there's probably, more specific things depending on what problems that you're dealing with.
So I want to dig into specifically the Delegate and Elevate and LMA, because those two I think are really great tools to kind of, especially considering what we're talking about. So walk me through Delegate and Elevate and tell me what that kind of means inside the EOS system.
Delegate and Elevate is a tool where you take everything that you do and list it, usually in your job. But if your things in your personal life start to spill over into that time, maybe like picking up your kids, that would be on my list. Then there's a box starting in the lower right-hand corner. This is everything that you don't like and you're terrible at. Next box is everything that you don't like, but you're good at. That's where most of corporate America goes to die. Now, in the top of quadrant, these are things that you are good at and you like. That's better. Then the left quadrant is everything that you love and you're great at. This is where you want to spend your life. This is what a rewarding, meaningful life is about. And so we're taking that list and we're putting it in those four quadrants. I do this every quarter because it takes me a couple weeks to list all the things. I'm like, oh, I did this today. I'm like, man, I got to get that on my list. Which quadrant would that be for me? Okay, that's in the, everything in that lower don't like, not good at. You're looking at that and you're getting it off of your plate. We take one quarter, like EOS implementers, we usually take one thing a quarter and get that off their plate. Mine, one quarter was email. Another was opening mail in my house. I can't stand opening mail. And I was just at a mastermind group, and I love this quote. A millionaire is good at 5 things. A billionaire is good at 1.
Yeah.
Is that a good overview of the Delegate and Elevate tool?
For sure. Yeah. Now, so you're delegating anything that's not in that quadrant that you love to do and that you're good at, right? How do I know when it's a time to kind of actually delegate that out? Again, it goes back to the holding onto that rope. Like, I'm not necessarily saying, I don't want to necessarily beat that dead horse, because obviously we got to be able to let go of it. But man, oh man, like, if we're in a 7-person company, there's only so much of that stuff I can let go. There's only so many VAs I can hire, virtual assistants I can hire to kind of help, make sure that my whole team is doing everything that they're just really good at. So how do you kind of work through growth in a company to be able to get everybody to only be in that top right quadrant?
First is you're going to look at your team. Anyone below you, is there someone on the team that really loves to do that? Could you delegate it to them? Right? And then you can look outside of that, and you just have to watch your growth and make that decision, right? Everything that you're doing, there's an opportunity cost. So if you're doing something that you don't like, what are you giving up to do that task? Mm-hmm. If it's calendaring, like, is it a sales call? Is it one sales call every day that you could be doing instead of doing your own calendar? If so, what's that cost? So what are your unique abilities, right? What do you love doing? What's in your upper left? And what are, in your seat, what are you giving up to do those other things? And then just making a decision. And you could probably bring it to, you can bring it to the leadership team, right? L10 every week, like, hey, I really want to get this off my plate. I'm ready to do this. Do you think you could get their opinions? You could check in with your visionary integrator. You're just making a call. Mm-hmm. Right? I look at my mail and go, okay, I need someone in person, in a physical practice manager. And I'm not ready to hire that yet. It's $35 per hour. And I'm not there yet. So I'd see it. And I just go through my other thing. I'm like, could we, get a service online where we send our mail to someone else? And then you're just making a call. Okay. Yeah. I got a practice manager. Now I'm ready to do that.
It's a fluid explanation, right? Because in the grand scheme of things, you nor I nor anybody else can tell a company when it's time for them, when they're able to actually do it. They need to be able to sit down, figure out what it is that their company is doing, figure out where they're at, and then make the call. Sometimes that means that if you are, if you're the, one of the top 2, if you're a visionary or integrator, you're like, you know what, I'm going to just take less pay so that we can bring other people in, because I know that in the long run, that's going to make more sense for me. Sometimes you need to look at it and say, I'm just going to pay this person out of my own pocket for now until the company can support it. Nobody can tell you exactly what you could do in your company. All you can do is kind of look at the tools, look at what you have in front of you, and then figure out how you can make it happen. And that's, so yeah.
This is a great point. The EOS tools show you what's going on in your business. It is then your job as a leader to make the decision, take the action, mm-hmm. right? And all this stuff about AI of like, hey, I just ask AI. I love Jeff Wood's approach of being the thought leader But you could easily sit down with ChatGPT and like, okay, I'm thinking about this task and how much it is. And you could be bouncing this off of AI. You could be bouncing this off of another friend. You could be reading books about this. But at the end of the day, getting the leadership team to understand their business, have the confidence to make quick decisions, and move in the right direction of the VTO is what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're asking AI and you're like, hey, am I ready to do this? AI may give you an answer. You have to be the one that says, I never thought of that. That's a great idea. It totally makes sense. Or no, we're not doing that yet. Right? Yeah, outsource the ideation, the thought partner. Do not outsource the decision.
It's one of those that, I've been guilty of it myself in multiple areas of my life where it's easier to outsource it. So that way I have somebody else to blame other than myself. But when you're running a company, it's your daggum company. Like you have to be the one to make the decisions. Like there's no matter what's going on in that company, it's on your shoulders. And be okay with that. That's why you're an entrepreneur. That's why you're building a business. That's why you're doing these things. So be okay with that. Get as much information as you need to make the decision and then make it and go with it. And guess what? If it's the wrong decision, figure it out later and adjust it. No problem. Like that's what you have to do sometimes.
I love that. And getting that feedback quickly in the way of a scorecard, a weekly check-in.
Yeah.
Right? Don't let it go for a month before you're like, oh, did this ever get done?
Yeah. And that's, because that is another thing that a lot of people do when they delegate is they'll turn around and not look at it anymore. And man, oh man, that's where I think the EOS really helps to kind of make sure that that's back in front of your face is you like use the tools, put it back in front of your face, remind yourself that these are the things that I'm supposed to be tracking because delegating doesn't mean turning around and never looking at it again. Oh, somebody else has got that. I'm out now. No, there's still follow up. There's still things that need to be done. There's still and that leads into the LMA side of the house, right? So kind of walk me through the LMA understanding so that we can kind of see the full circle on that.
This is an hour workshop, usually more like an hour and a half. But you're looking at, and I will give you the actual, make sure that I actually hit it instead of the other tool I would mention while I'm pulling this up is the assistance track. There's a tool for when we delegate, how we check in with our assistant, how we communicate with them on a regular basis. Also free. You can go to my website and download any of these tools. But the LMA is 5 leadership abilities and 5 management. And the point is that these are 2 very different disciplines. Okay. So when you get the 5 for leadership and you get the 5 for management, then that equals accountability. So here's the 5 questions. And you just think about your team. You go, okay, I'm sitting in the ops seat. I've got 8 people underneath me, which is way too many. Let's just say I have 4 direct reports. You have 8 people all together, but you got 4 direct reports. They have people below them. Got to build the right structure so that you don't have too many direct reports. Am I giving clear direction? That's creating the opening, sharing them with the seat on the accountability chart, the VTO. Am I providing the necessary tools with them? Resources, training, technology, people, time and attention, being your time and attention. Am I letting go of the vine? I act with the greater good in mind. That is, I am acting with the VTO of the company as the greater good, and my actions, decisions put the company needs first. Am I walking that talk as a leader? And number 5, am I taking clarity breaks? And that's just on the business, taking time away from the business to think about the business, which is a whole another discipline in itself. You're looking at all the people that you manage and you're answering, I'm doing that with every single one of them. And you're saying yes or no. If you have 4 people and you're doing it with 3 people and 1 you're not, you just check no. And you think, what do I have to do to give clear direction to that person? You put it on your list. You get 3 to 6 months. And you come back and you try to do that with them. Okay, so those are the 5 leadership practices on thinking about like working on the business, leading, right? The 5 management practice, is it okay if I go through this with the same speed?
Yeah.
Okay, so the 5 management practices, same thing here, all or nothing with all your direct reports. I keep my expectations clear, yes or no. 2-way street. I know their expectations. They know my expectations. The tools here usually are the roles in the seat, the core values of the company, their rocks, and their measurables on their scorecards. Number 2 is I am communicating well. Two-way street, me and them. I know what's on their mind. They know what's on my mind. We have a couple tools here called Two Emotions and Echoing. And the only point here is when we talk about leaders talking to their direct reports, 80% of the time, their direct reports should be doing the talking, which means that they're getting better at asking questions and listening. Mm-hmm. Number 3 is I have the right meeting pulse. So that's your L10 in the way that you build your accountability chart for functional teams throughout your company. So do I have the right meeting pulse? Is there an even exchange of dialogue in those meetings? Are they reporting measurables, and are they keeping the circles connected? Number 4 is I am having quarterly conversations. This is a whole tool in itself. You're sitting down with your direct reports every quarter. It's a coaching conversation, high level. You're talking about the roles in their seat, the core values in the company, and their rocks. And the simple question is what's working, what's not working. And you're really getting on the same page with how they're doing, how they like working at your company, how they see you as a leader, and how you see them. I do a workshop with the leadership teams, usually, a year and a half down the road, where we role play this. And it is so much fun. Someone's been running EOS for 7 years, and the department has 275 people. His direct reports is something like 4. Mm-hmm. And we did this exercise, and he was just like, well, first of all, I've been doing these wrong for the last 6 years. So the quarterly conversation is a super important piece in itself. And the last question here in the 5 management practices is, am I rewarding and recognizing? So give positive and negative feedback within 24 hours. Always criticize in private, praise in public. Never break that rule. Be their boss, not their buddy. And the 3-strike rule.
So I think that some of the keys that I take away from that, again, is not only are you having people do things for the company, but you have to follow up with it. You have to keep that relationship going. You have to still be the boss. You have to still kind of run the company is still your responsibility. You are still, if you're the leader of the company, you have to be the one still out there in the front. You have to be interacting. You have to, you can't delegate that, right? It still, again, falls on your shoulders to run the company, be the person that makes sure that everything is rolling together. And that's, if you're looking at EOS, visionary and integrator together are kind of making sure that happens, integrator especially, while the visionary is creating and building and growing and doing all that stuff. So it is unbelievably important. When the first time that I hired an assistant, I failed miserably. I was just kind of like, I did the here, do these things for me, and then turn around and started just doing what I thought that I needed to do. And I gave 0 direction, 0 follow-up, 0 anything. And of course I had to let that person go because I wasn't ready to bring somebody on. Like, I did just such a poor job. I just was not prepared to bring somebody in, which is why setting the stage and doing the right stuff and knowing how to set that path forward, it makes a huge difference in the actual success of you and your company and bringing in the right people in the right seats. So I really appreciate you going over those tools, because that's, I think, massively helpful for some folks.
You allude to the most important part, which is hiring and onboarding and training, right? So around core processes and, so we have a total, separate part about that. Super important. But the point I think you make is that as a leader, it's our job to lead. The most important, you said follow-up. The most important secret sauce of EOS is that you're always coming back. Mm-hmm. You're coming back every quarter as a leadership team. You're coming back every week as a department and as a leadership team. And you're just simply saying, okay, we said we're going to do this. How are we doing on it? That's a follow-up cadence, a follow-up pulse. And it helps you do all those things.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that there's no way around some of those things. They just have to be done. Like, you have to be able to follow up those things. And you have to be able to go through those processes to know that you're on the right track. So, Ben, it was awesome getting to dig in a little bit on the EOS side of the house. I always enjoy sitting down, having conversations with you. And I really appreciated everything that you've done with me professionally and personally on the EOS side. So very much appreciated. If folks are hearing what you're saying and they're like, man, I would love to have somebody like Ben come in and chat with me, what's the best way for folks to be able to reach out to you and learn a little bit more about how you can come in and help them implement EOS?
Email me, ben.kelley, Kelley, at EOS Worldwide. My website is eosworldwide-ben.kelley is my website. And just reach out. And man, Adam, thank you so much. Boy, we crammed a ton of stuff in here. Yeah. I hope it wasn't too dense, but it's always fun, especially with your experience and your history and all the things you've done and all the different companies you've run. It's always fun to have a great conversation.
First off, I don't appreciate you calling me dense. I don't really like that. But no, it was a pleasure. And the benefit is this is recorded, so people can rewind and go back and listen to it again if they need to. So, there was a lot. We packed a lot in there as quickly as possible, and I had a feeling we would be kind of doing that between you and I and how we talk and describe things. So, I'm really looking forward to some feedback on this one. So please, everybody listening, please reach out to Ben. He was a world of help for us in being an implementer. So I know that he'd be able to help you as well. Please like, subscribe, comment below. Tell us what your favorite part of this was. Tell us what you don't like as well. We'd love to be able to interact with you on what you didn't like or what you disagree with, because we'll be glad to jump in there and tell you why you're wrong. But I mean, to have a wonderful conversation with you and learn some more ourselves. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you again, Ben, for jumping in. We appreciate it. And we will see everybody on the next show.
Thank you so much, Adam.